My name is Claire Whitman. I am 36 years old, an event safety and venue compliance consultant in Charleston, South Carolina, and at 6:10 on a Saturday evening, I walked into my younger brother's wedding venue opening and saw my name on an occupancy permit I had never signed. Whitman Barn Estate looked beautiful from the driveway. White string lights crossed the oak trees, linen-draped cocktail tables stood on the grass, a champagne wall glittered beside the entrance, and the old family barn had been painted soft white with black doors and gold handles like every bride's Pinterest board had been poured over my grandmother's land. A ribbon stretched across the main barn doors. 3 brides were touring with their mothers. Caterers were setting past appetizers on trays. A florist was photographing centerpieces. A local lifestyle reporter stood near the bar with a camera. My brother Evan stood in the doorway in a tan suit, smiling like he had personally resurrected the building with vision and love. His wife Madison had her phone raised for a live stream, showing the banner behind him. Whitman Barn Estate Grand Opening. Founder, Evan Whitman. My mother, Barbara, stood beside him with tears in her eyes, already proud of the son who had brought the barn back to life. My father, Paul, stood near the old tack room door looking at the floor, which meant he knew something I was about to find. Then a planner handed me a cream badge that said, Setup Support, not Venue Safety Reviewer, not Compliance Consultant, not the person who paid inspection fees, redrew the exit plan, fixed vendor insurance language, rebuilt rental contracts, and warned my brother that a 230-guest wedding could not fit inside a 140-person occupancy limit just because the photos looked romantic. Setup Support. In my hand was the brass barn key Grandma Alice had tied to a faded white ribbon years before she died. In my tote was a red fire safety folder with occupancy emails, exit diagrams, inspection warnings, vendor insurance notices, liquor liability notes, rental contracts, forged signature pages, and the final occupancy verification packet that the city fire marshal had emailed me that morning because my name had been listed as safety reviewer. Then my mother lifted her voice in front of brides, vendors, reporters, and relatives and said, Claire only decorated tables. Evan was the one who actually brought this barn back to life. People laughed politely. Evan smiled. Madison zoomed in. I pressed Grandma's key into my palm and looked toward the reception hall, where Fire Marshal Raymond Cole was holding a tablet with my forged permit packet open. Before I tell you what happened when Raymond asked who signed the occupancy permit and my brother dropped the ribbon, tell me this first. What time is it where you are right now, and where are you watching from? I want to know how far this story travels before my family understands that a beautiful room still needs a safe way out. The barn had belonged to Grandma Alice before my parents ever thought of turning it into a business. It was not always pretty. It smelled like hay, rain, saddle soap, old wood, and the lemon cookies she hid in a blue tin above the feed shelves. I spent summers there, sweeping dirt from the tack room, carrying folding chairs for church suppers, taping extension cords down for reunions, and following Grandma as she checked every door before people arrived. She loved a full room, but she never trusted beauty to protect anyone. A beautiful room still needs a safe way out, she told me when I was 12, after I tried to stack extra chairs in front of the side exit because the hall looked cleaner that way. She moved them herself, made me carry them back, then handed me the brass key to the tack room and said, If folks are coming in, you better know how they get out. That sentence became the quiet shape of my career. Weddings looked soft from the outside, but behind every perfect room were exits, fire extinguishers, capacity limits, vendor insurance, drunk guests, candles too close to fabric, generators behind tents, wheelchair paths, food service permits, and contracts that decided who paid when somebody got hurt. Evan loved the soft part. I knew the back of the room. In my family, Evan was the visionary. I was the checklist. He could point at rotten siding and say, Imagine chandeliers, and Mom would cry. I could say the back stair needed railing before guests used it, and she would sigh like I had personally murdered romance. Evan was 32, charming, handsome, and good at making expensive women believe he understood their dream wedding better than they did. He had never run an event safely in his life. He had DJ'd 2 parties, built a bar from reclaimed wood, and watched enough venue tours online to start saying words like experience and flow. I had spent 12 years handling event safety audits for hotels, museums, family barns, garden venues, and private estates that wanted to host 500 people with 3 bathrooms and no emergency lighting. I had shut down receptions, moved ceremony layouts, argued with caterers about propane, and told crying brides no when no was the only thing between a pretty night and a fire report. My mother called that cold. She said I had never understood love. Evan understood love because he could hang lights from rafters and say Grandma wanted the barn full of joy. Grandma also wanted exits unblocked, but nobody put that on a brochure. The first time Evan said he wanted to open Whitman Barn Estate, Dad called it a family dream. Mom called it destiny. Madison called it a luxury Southern heritage brand. I called it a renovation project with serious compliance gaps. The barn had charm and problems. One main entrance too narrow for the guest count Evan was selling, a side door that stuck in humidity, no proper illuminated exit signs, uneven gravel where wheelchair guests would struggle, no approved emergency plan, incomplete liquor liability coverage, and a vendor contract copied from some wedding blog that would not survive a refund dispute, much less an injury. Evan rolled his eyes when I said that. Claire, weddings are about love, not litigation. I said, lawsuits usually start after somebody says that. He laughed, then asked if I could just look over a few things. That phrase had funded half my family's mistakes for years. I helped because brides and guests were involved. That is how people like Evan get women like me to cross our own boundaries. I redrew the exit plan. I built a guest capacity chart for different layouts. Ceremony only, cocktail reception, seated dinner, dinner with dance floor, dinner with band. I created a vendor insurance checklist because 5 vendors were already booked with incomplete certificates. I rewrote the rental contract, added cancellation terms, alcohol responsibility, weather relocation, ADA access language, emergency contact procedures, and a clear statement that no event could exceed approved occupancy. I paid $14,600 in inspection and permit correction fees when Dad said the account was tight and Evan had already ordered custom signage. I flagged the blocked south exit. I warned him that candles under dried floral installations were a bad idea. I stopped him from booking a 230-guest wedding in the barn when the practical safe capacity for that layout was 140. Every email said the same thing. Do not submit my name or signature on occupancy filings without final review and written authorization. Evan replied to the easy parts. Looks good, thanks, you're a lifesaver. Madison sent heart emojis and wrote, family is magic. Nobody replied to the authorization line. Madison was worse than Evan because she understood exactly how to sell the lie. She filmed the barn at sunset, not the exit door that stuck. She posted close-ups of champagne glasses, not the missing vendor insurance certificates. She captioned videos with words like timeless, safe, intimate, family built, fully restored, and ready for your dream day. I texted Evan after one post said, approved for luxury celebrations up to 225 guests. Take that down, you do not have that capacity. He wrote back, marketing. I replied, capacity is not marketing. He sent a laughing emoji. A week later, Madison posted a tour of the reception layout with tables pushed so tightly against the west aisle that guests would have to turn sideways to reach the exit. I left a comment saying the aisle needed to remain clear. She deleted it. Mom called me that night. "Could you please stop embarrassing your brother where brides can see?" I said, "Brides should see the exit." She said, "This is why Evan has the vision and you have the clipboard." I almost told her Grandma gave me the key because she trusted the clipboard more than the vision, but I did not. Silence is sometimes dignity. Sometimes it becomes a place where other people build a stage. The occupancy email arrived the morning of the opening at 8:07. Raymond Cole from the Charleston Fire Marshal's office wrote, "Claire, because you are listed as venue safety reviewer for Whitman Barn Estate, please verify the attached occupancy packet before tonight's opening event." I opened the attachment and felt the whole family story turn criminal. My signature appeared on the occupancy permit acknowledgement, the emergency evacuation plan, the guest capacity chart, the fire exit clearance form, and the vendor safety review. I had signed none of it. The signature had been copied from a contract correction I had sent Dad 2 years earlier for a church fundraiser. The upload history showed the final packet came from Whitman Barn Estate's office computer, the little room Evan and Madison had built inside Grandma's old feed office. The guest capacity submitted was 225. The exit diagram was my earlier draft, the one I had marked unsafe until the south door was repaired and the aisle width corrected. Several vendor insurance documents were still incomplete. Liquor liability review was pending. There were 17 wedding deposits already collected. 3 brides were coming to the opening. One of them, Emma Rhodes, had paid a large deposit and planned to bring her grandmother in a wheelchair to her spring wedding. ADA access was not theoretical. Fire exits were not theoretical. A blocked aisle did not care how much anyone loved romance. I called Raymond immediately. His voice was calm, the way fire marshals sound when they are not going to waste emotion on predictable stupidity. I told him I had not signed the packet and had warned Evan not to use my name. Raymond asked if I had the records. I said yes. He said he would attend the opening as scheduled. "Bring the originals," he said, "and do not sign anything handed to you at the event." I nearly laughed because Madison had already texted me a photo of a white guest book with gold letters. Family Blessing Book. Grandma would be smiling. I printed everything. My refusal emails, the forged signature pages, my corrected exit diagrams, the inspection warnings, vendor insurance gaps, liquor liability notes, the accurate capacity chart, Madison's marketing posts, the permit portal record, Grandma Alice's old note from a church supper folder. "Leave every door clearer than you found it." Then I put the brass key in my hand and drove to the barn. Madison met me at the entrance before I reached the patio. She wore a pale blue dress and a pearl headband, carrying the white guest book like a prop from a bridal magazine. "Everyone is signing a little blessing before the ribbon," she said, her phone already angled toward me. The top page had a sweet line about family legacy and love. Under it, folded once, was a compliance acknowledgement stating I accepted responsibility for the occupancy submission, exit plan, capacity chart, vendor safety review, and opening night event readiness. My signature line was marked with a tiny gold arrow. I looked at her. "This is not a blessing book." Her smile tightened. "It just confirms what you already helped with." "I helped with drafts." Evan stepped out from behind her, ribbon in one hand, jaw already tight. "Claire, please, not today." "Then why did you put my name on a fire marshal packet today?" His face changed for half a second. "Enough." Mom appeared at his shoulder, voice low and furious. "Do not embarrass him in front of brides." I looked past her at Emma Rhodes helping her grandmother over the uneven gravel near the side path. Brides are exactly why I'm starting. The opening was designed to make caution look ugly. The barn glowed. White drapes hung from beams. Tables were set with gold chargers, taper candles, and eucalyptus runners. A string quartet played near the bar. Vendors smiled beside sample displays. Brides carried folders. Mothers whispered about dates. Madison's live stream caught every warm angle. Evan gave his speech at 6:15. He talked about Grandma Alice, old wood, family memories, love stories, and bringing the barn back to life. He thanked Dad for believing, Mom for supporting him, Madison for building the dream, and Claire for helping with some setup details along the way. Setup details. My emergency binder was in his office. My exit map was on his permit. My forged signature was holding the room open. Then Mom said her line. Claire only decorated tables. Evan was the one who actually brought this barn back to life. The applause was soft, pretty, and wrong. Raymond Cole walked in during it. He did not clap. Before Evan could cut the ribbon, Raymond stepped toward the barn doors with his tablet. Before any public assembly activity continues under the submitted occupancy approval, he said, I need to verify the permit packet. Evan smiled too quickly. Of course, we're fully ready. Raymond looked at the tablet. Claire Whitman is listed as venue safety reviewer. Madison said, Yes, Claire helped with all of the safety planning. I stepped forward. I did not approve the final packet. The string quartet stopped playing one measure late. That made the silence sharper. Evan laughed once. She means she helped with earlier versions. I opened the red folder on the nearest cocktail table and placed my refusal email beside the forged occupancy page. This says do not submit my name or signature. This is what was uploaded. Raymond compared them. The signature in the portal was uploaded from the venue office computer and was not verified through Claire Whitman. First proof slap. Clean, official. Nobody needed a speech. Mom moved fast. This is a family misunderstanding. Claire has always been dramatic about rules. Raymond did not look at her. Capacity and exits are not family misunderstandings. I pulled out the correct guest capacity chart and placed it beside the submitted one. They submitted 225. The safe layout I approved for a seated reception with dance floor is 140, pending exit corrections. A bride's mother whispered, Our contract says 210. Madison's face went white. Evan said, That was for a different layout. I opened the rental contract draft with my comments. No, I warned you in writing not to sell that number. Raymond looked at the floor plan. The submitted capacity does not match the unresolved exit limitations. Second proof slap. This one hit 17 deposits at once. Emma Rhodes stepped forward, holding her grandmother's arm. Our wedding is here in May, she said. My grandmother uses a wheelchair. Is the side path approved? Madison started to answer, but Raymond spoke first. ADA route and emergency egress need verification. I pulled out the email I had sent Evan. Emma's layout cannot be confirmed until wheelchair route, ramp width, and exit clearance are fixed. Date stamped 3 weeks earlier. Emma looked at Evan. You told us everything was approved. Evan said, We were handling it. I said, You were selling it. Third proof slap. This one had a grandmother holding a cane. The room changed after that. Brides stopped looking at flowers and started looking at doors. Vendors stopped smiling and started checking their contracts. A caterer near the bar quietly moved a warming tray away from a curtain. Raymond noticed and wrote something down. Mom hissed my name like I was the fire hazard. Dad finally lifted his head. He looked older than he had that morning. He knew every piece of this. He had seen the emails. He had asked me to just let Evan get through the launch. I had saved that voicemail too. Raymond opened the vendor insurance section. 5 vendor contracts listed for opening and future events. Insurance verified by Claire Whitman. I placed my vendor gap list on the table. 22 gaps corrected in draft. 5 still pending final certificates as of this week. The florist looked alarmed. The caterer said, We sent ours yesterday. I said, Yes, yours was one of the fixed ones. She nodded, relieved and very interested. The bartender shifted near the champagne wall. I opened the liquor liability notice. Alcohol service review was pending because the bar package changed after I reviewed the contract. Madison whispered, "It was just a champagne toast." Raymond looked at the wall of filled glasses. "Then why is the package listed as full-service reception bar?" Fourth proof slap. Champagne stopped looking romantic. Evan's face hardened. Claire is jealous because she never built anything beautiful. There it was, the old frame. Jealous, cold, anti-romance. Clipboard woman. I held up Grandma's brass key. "Grandma taught me a beautiful room still needs a safe way out." Raymond nodded once. Not at the sentiment, at the rule behind it. Mom snapped, "Your grandmother would have wanted this barn full of joy." I said, "She would have wanted the doors clear." A vendor near the back murmured, "Same thing if there's a fire." The room heard it. Small witness, big crack. Raymond asked the question that ended the performance. Who uploaded Claire Whitman's signature? Evan looked at Madison. Madison looked at Mom. Mom looked at Dad. Dad closed his eyes. The Whitman family chain of avoidance stood there under white string lights. Evan said, "Madison handled some office files." Madison's mouth opened. "You told me she agreed." Evan snapped, "Not now." Not now was always where truth arrived dressed as paperwork. Raymond turned to Madison. "Did Claire sign this in your presence?" Madison swallowed. "She helped with the binder." Raymond repeated, "Did she sign?" Silence. Brides, vendors, relatives, reporter, live stream audience, all waiting. Finally, Madison whispered, "No." It was not enough to heal anything. It was enough to record. Raymond placed the occupancy approval under hold pending signature verification, exit clearance, accurate capacity review, vendor insurance confirmation, ADA access correction, and liquor liability update. No public event could proceed at the submitted occupancy level. No contracts could be represented as approved under that packet. Existing deposits tied to capacity claims had to be reviewed. The liquor license review would be delayed. The grand opening could continue only as a limited private tour, not as a venue approval celebration. Evan's ribbon slipped from his hand and fell across the threshold. A tiny white ribbon on an old barn floor. The whole room heard it land. Madison ended the live stream with a shaky line about technical issues. Deletion would come later. The reporter kept writing. Emma's grandmother sat down slowly in a chair near the aisle. Emma looked like she wanted to cry and sue someone at the same time. I walked to her before Evan could. "This is not your fault," I said quietly. "Do not sign anything tonight. Ask for corrected capacity, ADA route, refund terms, and proof of occupancy before making another payment." She nodded, eyes wet. Evan looked furious that I had given a bride actual advice in the middle of his dream. The confrontation moved into Grandma's old tack room, now painted white and called the Consultation Suite. I hated that name. The hooks where saddles used to hang had been replaced with a mirror and velvet chairs. Raymond needed statements. Present were Raymond, Evan, Madison, Mom, Dad, me, Emma and her planner, a vendor representative, and the reporter waiting just outside the open door because I refused to let it close. Closed rooms had protected Evan long enough. Raymond laid the packet out in order. Claire listed as venue safety reviewer. Signature not verified. Capacity inflated. Exit corrections unresolved. ADA route pending. Vendor insurance incomplete. Liquor liability not updated. marketing posts claiming approval, rental contracts using unapproved capacity. Then he asked Evan directly, "Did Claire Whitman sign the final occupancy packet?" Evan stared at the old tack room wall. "She helped us build it." Raymond repeated, "Did she sign?" Waiting is a tool. Finally, Evan said, "No." One syllable. Late. Small. Official. Mom started crying. "He only wanted to save the barn." I said, "Then he should not have risked the people inside it." She snapped, "You always make love sound dangerous." I looked at the exit diagram. Bad planning makes love dangerous. Dad spoke then, voice rough. "Claire paid the inspection fees." Mom turned on him. He kept going. "She fixed the contracts. She told us the capacity was wrong. I should have stopped this." The room did not forgive him. It did hear him. Evan looked at Dad like the floor had betrayed him. Emma's planner opened her folder. "Our contract says 210 guests, full bar, sparkler send-off, and use of both barn doors for grand exit." Raymond closed his eyes for half a second. "Sparklers inside or near the barn are not approved under this plan." Madison whispered, "It was a photo moment." Raymond said, "Fire is not a photo moment." Fifth proof slap. Even Mom had no answer to that one. By 7:20, the grand opening had become a controlled collapse. Brides requested copies of their contracts. Vendors asked whether deposits were protected. The bartender packed up the champagne wall. The florist stopped taking detail shots. The reporter left with more story than she expected. Evan stood by the main door, no ribbon in his hands now. Madison sat behind the consultation desk, deleting posts. The brides had already seen enough. Deletion is not disappearance. Raymond had screenshots. I had screenshots. Half of Charleston's wedding vendor circle would hear the rest before dessert. Evan found me near the south exit, the one I had warned him about. "You got what you wanted," he said. I looked at the sticking door. "No, I got what you filed. You could have pulled me aside. I emailed you 9 times. You know what I mean." "Yes, you mean I should have protected your image after you used my signature." He stepped closer. "You were always jealous that I could make this place beautiful." I looked at the chandeliers, the flowers, the barn beams Grandma had scrubbed with her own hands. Beauty was never the issue. Then what was? I pushed the south door. It caught halfway before opening. "This." He had no answer. A stuck door is harder to argue with than a sister. Mom called me cruel before I left. She said Evan could lose everything. I said guests could have lost more. She said Grandma would hate me for ruining the opening. I held up the brass key. Grandma gave me this because she trusted me to open doors, not block them. Dad looked down. Mom said nothing. That silence was the first honest thing she gave me all night. The next morning, the fallout arrived with clean subject lines. Occupancy approval hold. Liquor license review delayed. Vendor contract review requested. Bride deposit dispute. Capacity correction required. Madison posted a statement saying Whitman Barn Estate had voluntarily paused full-capacity events to enhance our already beautiful guest experience. Emma commented, "Were the occupancy signatures verified?" The post disappeared in 11 minutes. Deletion is not disappearance. The wedding world runs on screenshots and angry mothers of brides. Raymond's formal review happened the next week in a city office with gray carpet and a framed evacuation map on the wall. Evan came with Madison and an attorney. Mom came even though she had no official role. Dad came with printed emails I had sent him, which surprised me. Raymond reviewed the findings. My name listed without verified consent. Forged signature uploaded from venue office. Capacity overstated. Exit corrections incomplete. Vendor insurance gaps. ADA route unresolved. Liquor liability package inconsistent. Evan admitted I had not signed. Madison admitted she uploaded the packet because Evan told her I had agreed. Mom tried to say family businesses run on trust. Raymond said, public assembly does not run on trust. It runs on approved exits. I wrote that sentence in the margin of my notes. Whitman Barn Estate was not permanently shut down. Real life rarely gives clean destruction. It was placed under correction. Capacity reduced. South exit repaired. Aisles widened. ADA route rebuilt with proper grade. Vendor insurance certificates completed. Liquor package rewritten. Sparkler send-offs removed. Contracts corrected. Bride deposits reviewed with refund options. Evan lost several bookings. Emma kept her date only after the corrected plan allowed her grandmother a safe route and reduced her guest count with a partial refund. She sent me one email. Thank you for making them tell us before the wedding day. I printed it and placed it behind Grandma's note in the red folder.
I did not take over the venue. My family expected me to because that was always the pattern. Evan breaks the thing, Claire fixes the thing, Mom praises Evan for surviving, Dad thanks me quietly. Not anymore. I offered one formal option. Evan could hire an independent venue safety consultant, remove my name from all filings, pay me for the templates he had used, and stop marketing Capacity until approved. He refused for 4 days. Then 2 brides requested refunds, and the liquor review froze. He signed. That invoice did not feel petty. It felt clean. 3 months later, the barn opened properly. Smaller, safer, less glamorous in the ways that mattered most. The side exit opened smoothly. Exit signs were lit. The gravel path had been corrected. The contract no longer promised impossible numbers. The first wedding had 128 guests, no sparklers, a real rain plan, and Emma's grandmother rolled through the ADA entrance without anyone lifting the chair. I did not attend. Emma sent a photo of her grandmother smiling near the dance floor with a clear aisle behind her. That picture meant more to me than any apology my family had avoided. I built something from it because brides kept calling. Planners, too. Small venue owners. Daughters whose families were turning barns into businesses with no permits. I launched Whitman Venue Shield, helping wedding venues, family barns, planners, and couples check occupancy permits, guest capacity, fire exits, vendor insurance, liquor liability, ADA access, rental contracts, and emergency plans before money changed hands. My first free workshop was called A Beautiful Room Needs a Safe Way Out. I placed Grandma's brass key on the table beside a sample floor plan, a capacity chart, a vendor insurance checklist, and a fake blessing book with a hidden compliance form tucked underneath. People laughed, then got very quiet. A bride asked what to do if her venue refused to show the occupancy permit. I said, "Do not pay another $1 until they do." A father of the bride took notes like his daughter's life depended on it. In a way, it did. My mother still says I embarrassed Evan in front of brides. I say Evan forged my signature into an occupancy packet. Only one of those matters to the fire marshal.
Madison no longer live streams near me. Dad now tells people I kept the barn safe, not just decorated. Late truth is still late, but at least it has finally left his mouth. Evan and I are not close. The barn survives. I am glad. Grandma loved that building. But now it survives with exits that open, contracts that match the room, and guest counts that do not pretend love changes square footage. The brass barn key hangs in my office now under Grandma Alice's sentence. A beautiful room still needs a safe way out. My family invited me to the grand opening as the sister who just decorated tables because they thought romance mattered more than rules. They forgot that every bride, every grandmother, every caterer, every drunk uncle, every child asleep under a table, and every vendor carrying trays through a crowded room depends on the boring parts nobody photographs. They forgot that candles burn, exits block, crowds panic, gravel traps wheels, and signatures mean responsibility. They forgot that a barn does not become safe because a man hangs chandeliers and calls it legacy. So tell me, if your family forged your name onto an occupancy permit and called you bitter for stopping the ribbon, would you stay quiet so the room could stay beautiful? Or would you open the red folder and let the fire marshal show everyone where the exits really are?